He's James Collins.
He is Alec Cranston, and this is the
Matter of Fax podcast.
The Matter of Fax podcast brings you the unsung heroes, the unsung stories, news and happenings from across our wonderful city that you maybe thought happened but didn't quite know the truth behind.
And get you all in the loop on what's going on, what's to come, and what can we be prepared for.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Matter of Fax podcast. My name is Alec Cranston, and I am one of your hosts.
Welcome to Matter of Fax. I can't do a British accent. My name is James Cailin. So that's Australian.
What
now.
is that?
So
oh, God.
I can't do it.
You'll fool no one.
Cheerio. I can't do it. No.
Cheerio, that works.
Cheerio.
Well, welcome to episode 10, everyone.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome. We are in June. It's very hot. Alec Cranston is months away from getting married to Jenna.
Woo!
And he's stressed. He's been trying his dress on. He bought another dress.
Nothing fits.
He realized he can't wear white at the wedding because,
The bride has to wear it. Whatever. I can't wear white. It's fine.
You know why you can't wear white at a wedding, right?
Because the bride wears it? Why can't you wear white? I don't know.
It was a sign of, I'll do my American accent to get through an awkward point. It was a sign of purity.
Oh, okay.
It was a sign of, I am saving you for the wedding night.
Oh, okay.
These days, the only thing people save for the wedding night is like a bag of Doritos. I remember getting back after my wedding day, and my cheek muscles were on fire because you spend all day smiling. So you go for your official photos, and all your guests are getting drunk and having a good time. And then you do the reception, and as you're trying to go to the bathroom, or as you're trying to go for food, or as you're trying to get a drink, everyone says, "Can I have a photo with you?" So I remember all I did all day was smiled. But it's a very interesting day. You'll like it. You'll like your wedding. If you don't, you can just have another one in a couple of years.
I was going to say, we'll just redo it.
What's the old joke? You only get married a couple of times in life, so you may as well enjoy
or the
it.
joke you used to always say, like, hey, this is my current wife.
This is my current wife, yeah.
I like that one. No, I'm very excited. January 10th, to be
And
exact.
there is an open invite to everybody who listens.
Anyone who listens. So, Uncle Jeff, you're already listening, and you're already invited. So, congratulations. And James, your brother. So
Our 2 listeners are welcome.
Yep.
Actually, one of our 4 listeners is marrying you.
Yes. I don't even know if she listens, though.
She doesn't?
So.
Actually, I'll tell you now, yeah. So Jen does listen, but it's always cooking.
Oh, okay.
So she listens when
While
she
she's
cooks.
cooking.
Yeah. I
And
think
then
with
there's music
the
blaring in the
knife in
background.
hand, just squeezing it tighter as I speak
As
more.
you say something. Jenna doesn't listen to it. My mom and dad do, though. And
What's your mom's name?
guy on my softball team listens to me. Or us.
What's your mother's name?
Sandy.
Sandy and Todd, I hope you're well. Sandy and Todd, I hope you're well. I hope you're excited for your son's upcoming wedding.
You sound like, I don't even know, like a Siri or something like that.
You can do the deep announcer voice, too. And now, for one night only, we welcome Mr. Alec Cranston.
That was actually very good.
Do you like it? Do you want to go and do Insane as the Crane before we just start doing impressions of each other's cultures?
I'd love to. Insane as the
Crane. Insane as the Crane. Insane as the Crane. Kinda insane like the Crane.
Oh dear, what have we got, Alec?
Dear God.
Oh, we had to make the joke.
News headline, newsflash. 2 deer tranquilized in downtown Halifax.
Oh, that's a horse. Sorry. What noise does a deer make? Wait. I discovered last week that Alec Cranston can do a wonderful loon impression. A loony doing a loon.
One more. I'll do one more for the people.
Do you want to hear the cricket?
Yes. Very good. No, I'm not going to do that.
Do you want to hear the shyster Welshman?
Yes.
Hi, I'm James.
Yep, that sounds just about right.
And what happened in this deer
So
tranquilizing
Halifax
incident?
pedestrians got an unexpected sight Thursday night. So Thursday last week when they spotted a deer in downtown Halifax.
Hello, deer.
The
Little
poor-
Nova Scotian Antigonish woman. Hello, dear.
Dear God. The confused animal showed up at the convention center and threw itself against the glass several times before making its way into Economy Shoe Shop. I can make so many jokes.
Well, what I love about this, it just sounds like a regular Haligonian on Argyle Street that I've seen them before when it's like they threw themselves against the glass, of the convention center, and then they went into the economy shoe shop. By the way,
sounds
there
like
is no
James
need
Collins
to
at
be
the
a
Atlantic Real Estate
well.
Forum.
There's no eligibility criteria for this that requires you to be a deer. You just got to be a drunk human on Argyle Street.
Like, I just love that line. The confused animal showed up at the convention center and threw itself against the glass several times before making its way into the economy shoe shop.
Whoa! Did someone just twist and tug? What happened to your voice there?
When I get really like giggly, I get high.
You become 12.
I become 12. And so, yeah, that's pretty funny because that is pretty much anyone. And we're not going to do it, but there's probably like 10 people I could have made a joke about with regards to like going to the convention center, the real estate forum. There's some people I could have pulled there for that joke, but I'm not going to. So yucks. Well, technically yucks. Economy Shoe Shop said they had the doors open to the basement because they were about to do a comedy show. Okay, yucks. And while the doors were open, the deer panicked and ran downstairs.
Because it couldn't produce its QR code to prove it bought a ticket.
Exactly.
It was like, where's my Eventbrite confirmation? And these guys were expecting a comedy show. Well, I think better than most comedy shows is a confused, panicked deer.
Imagine that. As someone said,
this is a great quote, by the way. This is
you go.
You want it in the accent?
You take it.
I just saw a deer go flying by the door. It kind of shocked us, said bar patron Chip Anstey.
What a name.
I think the people I'm with thought I had too many tequilas.
You actually sounded like me at the very end there. That was very good. So then officers from the Nova Scotia Department of Natural Resources and Renewables, DNR, arrived at the scene around 9 p.m. Atlantic time and tranquilized the deer in the basement of the shoe shop. Sorry, I'm not laughing because that's funny, but obviously the deer's okay. They were tranquilized. The basement shoe shop for removing it from the bar. That's also a funny line. That sounds like your average Haligonian. DNR said that they also learned there was a deer inside the fenced area around the province house around the same time. The staff were able to tranquilize both deer and safely relocate them to a more suitable location where they were set free. That is great news. I'm very happy to hear that. Anyways, happy ending though. The deer were set free. I wish our friend of the show, James Mullinger, was the comedian. He probably could have taken that because if the deer ran in as he was performing, he would have made so many jokes about that.
Yeah, if I was doing a comedy show and deer ran in, I wouldn't even try to compete.
I just say take a seat.
I'd say, guys, we can just enjoy this and together.
Yeah,
and we'll have a happy ending.
Let's just by 2 a.m.
2 a.m. There'll be a happy ending.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was pretpretty insane.
As the crane.
I think it's more insane than the crane.
I think so too.
Do you want to round up Reddit? Round up Reddit.
Haligonians losing their minds over minor inconveniences.
Okay, so we have a couple of Reddit roundups. Do you want to do yours first or my first? Me or you? You or me?
Who do you want to do first, Alec?
Who do you want to do first? You want to do you or do me?
Well, we will do me first.
Let's do you.
And this is a good one. This isn't actually a new thing to have hit the interwebs. This was something that did float up like a ghost a couple of years ago. There's no context for our listeners yet, but now I will segue into it. This is a post from That Cat Is a Fish. I hear that everyone is dying to go to this open mic night. So Cruikshank's funeral home has an open mic night the last Wednesday of every month from 6:30 to 9:30.
Oddly specific.
There is oddly specific. Yeah, there is a banner outside the funeral home, and everybody finds this hilarious. Of course, it's not the typical use for a funeral home. The puns flew on the thread, but I just want to preface this by saying when I thought about this, I realized it was the perfect venue for an open mic night because they do have obviously the area where they hold a wake, and you typically have a good acoustics because there's often music.
Yeah.
You have soft lighting. You have a lot of chairs facing the front. You have call it a staging area. So when it's kind of funny, but when you think, you kind of reverse engineer it and look back, it's actually a really damn good place for an open mic night.
Oh, it's perfect. Mike, spelled M-I-K-E.
Well, this is where the jokes went. I mean, there is no amazingly wisdom-filled. Most of these are just cheap puns, but they're pretty funny. I just want to say the one that wasn't on there, which is my contribution, is that must have been quite the undertaking.
Ooh. There are some funny ones. It was okay, but some jackass in the crowd kept coughing.
It's not the cough that carries you off. It's the coffin they carry you off in. Beach Cleats said... said something else there. I tried one night, but totally embalmed.
Purple pepperoni stick. If you don't check this place out, you'll be making a grave mistake.
Oh, ba-boom. Manny Thorne. I went there. Totally killed.
Elmac Lamb guy. A stiff crowd, I hear. Oof. Yeah, this is pretty intense. I mean, like, part of me is like, you want to go check it out and see what's going on. But the other part of me is like, why are they? I mean, like maybe they subleased part of their space to an open mic. I don't. Unless is them. Is it them having the open mic? Like it's the funeral home. Like
well, it isn't the customers. I'll tell you that.
No, unless like I said before, your name is Mike. Party so loud they wake the dead.
I just got my own awful pun.
You got a pun for yourself?
I got a really bad pun. I just thought of it.
Say it.
What the really good comedian at the end for the encore? They're like Mog.
That was really good. You're pretty good with the puns.
I should have put that in the thread.
Anyways, let's start with our second Reddit roundup. Let's continue with our second Reddit roundup. So this one actually is one that James found. I found the last one. This is James's Jimothy. It's okay if I call you James?
Yeah.
Okay. James's, to the moms who were at Chain Yard this afternoon from the Right Progress 1886. I know your child needs to have their diapers changed, but on your table in the middle of the restaurant is not the place to change a shitey diaper. So they're changing shit diapers in the middle of the restaurant.
You know what I think You know what I think the justification is for changing a shitty diaper on a restaurant table? Absolutely nothing that exists in the universe. It's a gross, disgusting act, and they should be jailed.
Oh, like that's just...
I mean, Reddit typically or basically thought that. I mean, yeah, we'll use some beep in here, but Gilded Donut said, I mean, they'll never see this, but that's beeping disgusting. The restaurant should have stopped that. People are also blaming the OP here for... This is Ratskip said, not trying to be an a-hole OP, but genuine question. Why didn't you or anyone else present say something to the staff at the time? I mean, but my opinion is that's not their job. Do not, in this situation with the Chain Yard, with changing a kid's diaper on a table, put the onus on the diner. That's on the restaurant, maybe, but it's more so on the people. What do you think?
Yeah, it's tough, too, because like if the restaurant doesn't, I mean, if there's no policy in place about doing it, all they can really do is, I don't know, like, suggest or I don't know, threaten to kick them out for changing their baby. I saw one funny comment from Volcan50. Doesn't sound too sanitary as they serve food on tables.
I can tell you now, working in a restaurant as a student, I've seen everything but people doing it in the middle of the restaurant. My first ever shift, we had a woman who passed out, and I was an innocent, whatever, I was 19-year-old there. I didn't know what to do. This was in a place called Cheltenham in the UK, a very nice town I studied in, but she passed out on the table. My first ever shift in a booth and got trapped underneath. Social services had to be called to take her kids away because she was she was obviously deep in addiction. I feel very sorry for her, but she was struggling with addiction. And then when she left, we found all this crack paraphernalia under the booth. We had more instances than I can remember of people leaving and me cleaning up tables and finding a diaper in the booth, on the table, under the table. We found underwear. We found a nice lacy thong on one occasion. And the best we ever had was we shut the restaurant at 11 o'clock. We were in there till about 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. typically doing stuff for the next day. It took about an hour and a half, 2 hours after we closed. We've been closed at one point for just over an hour. And there's 3 of us left in the restaurant, and we're folding up cutlery and silverware in napkins ready for the next day, and we all go, oh, and we jump a mile, and we look behind us. A woman who'd been shooting up in the bathroom when we were still open and had collapsed in the bathroom finally was making her way down the stairs. If we'd left earlier, she would have been locked in Pizza Hut all night. I mean, she would have eaten, of course. There's plenty to eat and drink in there.
Never out Pizza the Hut. There's a funny comment here that I think kind of wraps up Reddit in general, and Octopig said, insane that this happened and no one spoke up. And then Juggernaut Birdie said, why speak up when you can just come to Reddit and moan about it?
Yeah, my thing on Reddit's always been people that complain about restaurants, and you want to say, you definitely didn't raise this at the time. Like, people like, don't go to Cranston's. The food is cold and the service is bad.
You sound like a 70-year-old rich man. Like,
we went to Cranston's. We didn't have a good time. We suggest that you don't go.
Reddit Roundup has been rounded up.
Our guest has just walked in. This is a running joke between Alec and I, because we'll be completely honest. We'll tell you a little secret. Don't tell anyone. Which is, we often record this show out of order. Sometimes we have our guests come in first. Sometimes they are in the right place. Sometimes they're after we do all this other nonsense that you hear. So what we always do is we always have to segue awkwardly by going, and our guest has just arrived. And our guest has just arrived.
And we are looking at a closed door that nobody's coming through. Our guest has already been here. Our guest has come and gone. and it went really well.
Should we go back in time and listen to that interview?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, we are thrilled today to have special guests Amy and Cailin from the Future of Hockey Lab as our latest guests in our new studio. So we're very thrilled about that. Our wonderful producers at Podstarter have moved to a new location. It is beautiful. This is our inaugural episode, and we're super excited to have Amy and Cailin here today to talk about the Future of Hockey Lab, as well as a recent initiative that had taken place in the past couple weeks that we definitely want to talk about and hear more about. But before we get into that, we got to turn it over to the king of bios, Mr. James Collins, for just a quick little introduction for our guests.
The king of bios. I don't know he's king of anything.
You're the king of bios, man. The bio king.
I love it. Well, I'm going to show off now.
Yep. Let's see what you got cooking.
Well, yeah, we welcome Cailin and Amy. So we have joining us remotely Cailin Ahloy. Cailin began her career in the world of large-scale industrial multi-sport events focused on leaving a legacy of benefits for society. Driven by her desire to play a larger role in driving positive change, she made her way to Mars Discovery District, working out of their solutions lab. And here she was part of a team leading systems change and delivering tangible solutions to some of Toronto's most challenging problems. A project manager by trade, Cailin currently leads the Project Management Office for eCampus Ontario, a not-for-profit tasked with the delivery of the virtual learning strategy for the province of Ontario. That does sound like quite the challenge, doesn't it?
It does.
And in the studio with us is Amy Walsh again, who was here for our second episode. And a long time, that was about 100 years ago, and we're thrilled to have you back. And Amy is the Future of Hockey Lab CEO. And Amy co-founded the Future of Hockey Lab in 2020, partnering with diverse groups to innovate and transform hockey culture. As Hockey Nova Scotia's executive director between 2018 and 2022, Amy led the diversity and inclusion task force, generating hundreds of recommendations to make hockey safer and more inclusive. She also initiated the Player's Journey, a design process improving player experiences by addressing barriers and opportunities in hockey. There is more. Amy has done a lot in her career. She also chaired the Women's World Hockey Legacy Development Committee and has served on various diversity and inclusion committees for Hockey Canada and the Canadian Junior Hockey League. She's currently a member of the NHL and NHLPA Female Hockey Advisory Committee. Now, formerly, Amy was Sport Nova Scotia's Director of Sport Development, collaborating with provincial sport organizations and community groups. A mother of three, Amy has coached minor hockey and volunteered extensively. And as a decorated athlete, she's excelled in speed skating, field hockey, and ice hockey at the provincial and university levels. Did we get all of that correct? That's a huge list of accolades.
Thank you.
You are the bio king. Well, welcome, Amy and Cailin. Amy, welcome back to the studio. Cailin, welcome for your first time with us. We're super excited to have you both on with us today. Like James alluded to last time, Amy, you were the executive director of Hockey Nova Scotia, and we had talked about the World Juniors. Fast forward, I guess it'd be over a year now later, you're now the CEO of the Future of Hockey Lab. So different realm, still in the hockey world. So I guess for us and for our listeners, could you give us a little bit of a background on what Future of Hockey Lab is, what's your goal, and what's the overall purpose of the organization?
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. And I feel honored to be the second appearance guest here on the podcast. Thank you so much. Yeah, in reflection, it was funny. I was thinking driving here what I talked about last time when I was on the podcast. And I think a lot of what we were talking about was using sport for good. So using an event like World Juniors, World Women's to really put a spotlight on the game. It really leveraged that for good. And I know Cailin could speak to that at length. But at that time, I was the executive director of Hockey Nova Scotia. And one of the things that we were doing was a diversity inclusion task force. So it was really a body of work to really figure out how to make hockey more safe and welcoming. And it was through that work, we did pretty significant public engagement. And we did that in the thick of COVID. So we went out and asked Nova Scotians in the thick of COVID, what would you do to make hockey more safe and welcoming? And we didn't just ask current hockey players. We asked those who have left the game, those who have never played the game, those who wouldn't even think of hockey even being on their radar. And what really surprised us is that we received so many stories. Apparently, on average, surveys, response rate to surveys is, well, 1, low. And number 2, time spent is, average of, 1 to 2 minutes. But in this particular survey, we had up to 13 minutes average time spent on the survey. And so what we got was stories, a lot of stories, but more importantly, solutions. It was ideas from community, from this diverse group, hundreds of people of ideas on how to make hockey more safe and welcoming. And that was the birth of the Future of Hockey Lab, because we were like, what are we going to do with all these ideas? We need a mechanism to test these ideas. We need a mechanism to use these ideas and scale them to really have the impact that we want to have. So we started that work inside Hockey Nova Scotia. So we kind of incubated, if you will, the Future of Hockey Lab inside Hockey Nova Scotia. And then just 18 months ago, I really saw the impact that the lab was having. And I really personally and professionally thought that I could make more of an impact in the game leading the lab. So I left Hockey Nova Scotia to lead the lab full time. And that was 1.5 years ago. And it's been a ride. I've learned a lot. And most importantly, I've met some amazing people. And already I can see the impact that the lab is having.
That's terrific. And so do you, like you said, you kind of built it from within Hockey Nova Scotia and within Nova Scotia, but is it now kind of spread out more across Canada? Is there delegates and representatives all over the place now?
Yeah, we're absolutely, we joke we're building the plane as we're flying it. So.
Yeah.
But yes, Hockey Nova Scotia has been a great partner from day one.
Yeah.
But we are now a national nonprofit. So we partner with everything from individuals to corporate entities across Canada to do our work. We've done 2 cohorts, so that's a model where you bring groups together. So we've had 2 full cohorts, and we just are in the almost done a sprint, which I know Cailin's going to speak to. But primarily it's been Nova Scotia and Ontario from a participant standpoint. But from a partnership standpoint, from an impact standpoint, we're really starting to see it across Canada.
I think I support anything which makes hockey more accessible, because I'm going to talk about, I'm going to bring this back to me for a second. That's a very weird thing to do as a podcast host. But I feel it's a valuable contribution in that I didn't grow up in a society where hockey is even a thing. Mm-hmm. The nearest piece of ice I could skate on was 30 minutes from my house, and nobody ever went there. And I don't have children. So if I were to have children, I'll be honest with everyone in this room, and you can all put me against the wall and beat me up later. My natural inclination wouldn't be to push them into hockey. It would be to do things I grew up with, which was sort of music, rugby, and different sports and different arts, call them. So I'm definitely interested in any work that people are doing in a country where hockey is such a thing, to grab those people who've had no exposure to them. Because I can tell you now, I don't know the first thing about the sport. It would take a lot to have me get a child interested, and to be honest, to support them. So anything which, for a hockey virgin like me, could show me the advantages of investing in the sport, of investing in the future of the sport, and changing a sport I'm not a part of, I would listen to.
And I think individuals like yourself who maybe didn't grow up playing hockey that want to be a part of it or want to learn more, you're the exact audience that we need to talk to learn about how we can make the game more accessible, to make it exciting, to have those values and those attributes from the game that are really going to be good.
Change is just so important. I mean, the game of hockey, it's funny. It's been the same for so long, so it's so great to see change starting to happen, because you look at some of these issues and you guys tackle a lot of issues, which is awesome. And as a hockey coach myself, it's great to watch, great to watch, great to be a part of. But it seems that just from an outsider looking in, FHL is looking at the root of these problems, rather than just say a certain demographic isn't enrolled in hockey as much as we would like them to be. So rather than just try and push it out, come sign up. Find out why aren't they signing up? Why aren't they coming in, and fix those problems? Which is leading me into my first kind of question about your most recent initiative, which was the Power Play initiative, which recently took place. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it was centering more so around female coaches in the game of hockey and lack thereof. One of the stats I saw was only 6% of coaches in Canada identify as female. Like that, to me, it's just, and I've had some unbelievable female coaches growing up. Like, if it weren't for them, like, I had some power skating coaches, some shooting coaches that were female, and they were incredible, and they still coach to this day. So I guess for me, it's like, yes, more need to be involved. Let's get more involved. So you guys saw a problem. You created this initiative. I'd like you, Amy or Cailin, to kind of give me just a quick rundown of what that initiative was about, and what sparked, to go out and do that, and what results you sort of saw from that initiative.
Back in March 2023, we actually started on this initiative, and the problem statement that we were looking to address was, how can we radically accelerate opportunities for girls, women, and non-binary individuals in the sport of hockey? From that, we got several really stellar ideas, but one of them kind of got to this real issue, which was women in leadership roles, and kind of focused on the sort of idea that if young girls playing hockey and non-binary individuals saw themselves reflected in the leadership that was coaching them, they would be more likely to stay in the sport and stay in the sport longer, not just as players, but once they finish playing, to stay in as coaches. So we latched onto that idea and tried to push it further, because one of the things that we want to do is make sure we're putting something out into the world that's really going to drive sustainable, deep-seated change across the system. So we want to make sure whatever it is that we're putting out there is different or differentiated from anything that's been seen before, and something that's going to really drive excitement. And that's what kind of took us to the sprint process. A sprint is meant to be a short burst of energy where you focus in on taking something and pushing it further using a design methodology. So we took the idea that we had, which was incredibly broad, incredibly vast, and very ambitious, and broke it down into much smaller components to come up with 2 ideas or 2 solutions. And over the weekend, we focused in on taking those ideas and refining them, testing them, pushing them further to make sure we had a full understanding of what they are before putting them in front of our user group. So the people that these ideas are intended to support. And for us, that's new or aspiring female and non-binary coaches. So we put the ideas in front of them in what we call our minimal viable product. So something that's very quick, very easy to produce, doesn't take a lot of resources or a lot of time, that you can just get a reaction. You can get a reaction from someone on. So we said, here are these 2 ideas. One was pretty much sketched out on Post-it notes, and the other was a role play scenario to sort of demonstrate what it was we were hoping to develop for them. And we got their feedback. Is this something that you would be excited about? Do you think that this would work to solve this problem? What would you do differently? What do you like about it? What do you not like? What should we change? And then we opened it up for their questions. And that was sort of the focus of the weekend. And I think coming out of it, we got 2 solutions that we're really excited about, and trying to figure out now how we progress with them further.
We used real live coaches. So we actually tested those solutions on Sunday. And I'll give a shout out to Halifax. I did a reach out to my contacts about a week ago and sort of my network. And every single person I asked to be a tester of these ideas said yes. They were excited about the mission, the vision, what we were trying to do. And they came out, and actually it was hard to get rid of them. They wanted to dive more and more into the ideas. I think they were disappointed. And we said, okay, you got to go now. We have to, keep working on these ideas. So we had the sprint location-wise at St. Mary's University, the room that looks over the rink. So it was a great venue. Halifax was fantastic on so many levels, just from a host perspective. And our partners really showed up. Cushman Wakefield was amazing. St. Mary's was amazing. And Bauer and Scotiabank and OK Tire. It was just really great from an environment standpoint. Mm-hmm. But the only thing I would add is something that really resonated with the group was that we're not trying to recruit more people into the existing system and hope they stay. It's about changing the system that will then recruit and increase. And when we think about women and girls, there's been a lot of things that have been tried. At the player level, we've stayed at 18% for over a decade, participation-wise. and 6%. I just can't get that stat out of my head, the fact that only 6% of coaches are women. So currently what we're doing right now isn't working. So we really need to have some innovative solutions that really get at root cause, really some systems change stuff, so that when the system is changed, the women come into the game and they stay.
What I really like about this is the fact that you were not just having the conversation. There's a lot of change that people try to affect, which, if we're honest and we peel back the layers and look at it, you get people in a room and you say, this is the problem, this is the solution, thank you for joining us. But it sounds like you were really digging deeper. So what comes next?
Two things I will say to that is, I think often when everyone gets in a room to talk about problems, we don't have the right individuals in the room. We don't have those who we're potentially currently excluding. We don't have those who are currently not welcome in the game. So it's really important, and everyone knows with innovation, you can't have innovation without diversity. So it's really important that you have the right people in the room to really come up with the right solutions. And the other thing that Cailin hinted to was the methodology. So we're not building out these huge solutions without even starting to test them. It's not that kind of top-down approach. It's really that bottom-up approach, where we come up with these ideas that we think will make an impact, but then we test them before we start scaling.
And once that cycle gets going, I mean, I just think about, from a coach's perspective. And I always say, like, one of the most fulfilling things as a coach, besides, seeing the kids have fun and be successful, is when a player decides they want to coach. A kid you've coached then says, I want to be a coach, or I want to do that. I want to help out. I want to eventually get involved in that. So I think once that cycle gets rolling and, you involve more coaches, more female coaches, which will then, female coaches, female identifying coaches, coaching more female players, who then in turn will want to become coaches again. And it's just a continuing cycle, and hopefully we can build that percentage up and get it more closer to the rest of the demographic. In terms of like the Future of Hockey Lab involvement with teams individually, would you guys partner with, like, say, an individual? I mean, so Hockey Nova Scotia, that's, the overall body, but for, say, a particular team, like a Halifax Hawks Pee-wee AA, like, is there opportunities there? Do you guys explore things like that? Even with the male hockey teams or the co-ed teams? I don't think there really is male anymore. It's just co-ed teams, or female specific teams. Do you guys have some kind of like initiatives that go in that way?
It would be from a testing perspective.
Yeah.
So in our first cohort, we had a number of ideas that came out of the first cohort that we then, for example, partnered with the Hawks, and then we tested those ideas within that hockey association. So we had an innovation that came forward was with the partnership with the mosque, the Halifax Mosque, and it was all about coming up with an innovative way to make hockey more accessible to youth that belong to that mosque. So it was just an amazing partnership and a good way for the local community organization to be a part of testing that idea.
What are some other, and then so looking at involvement from kind of outside the hockey community, I know like you had some great sponsors for the Power Play initiative. If somebody comes along and they want to be involved, they want to help, they want to spread the word, what are some ways that I can't think of a better word besides the average citizen, so a non-hockey citizen, maybe like this guy.
Basically the me's.
Basically the James Collins of the world.
The losers.
That can still get involved and help out and spread the word. What sort of opportunities lie in that sense?
Well, I think at the end of the day, we're tackling social issues.
Right.
We're just using hockey as a vehicle to tackle those. So I think a lot of the problems that we're trying to solve can be relatable across a lot of sectors. And that's why I think our corporate partners have been really excited about the work we're doing, because even some of the innovations or some of the processes that we're coming up with could be very transferable to other areas. So for example, if I look at OK Tire, who are a great partner of ours, they've been challenged with female leadership, and they've been wanting to really crack that nut to have more female leadership across their franchises. And so they were really excited about the why of our sprint and being involved with it and having some of those learnings about how can we set up an environment where women feel like they belong. And that was, I'd love for Cailin to maybe speak a little bit to that aha that we landed on with the belonging element over the weekend.
If you can share an aha, we'd love to know.
And you have to say aha.
We need you to go aha. Yeah.
Definitely. I think going into the weekend, one of the sort of big focus points for the group was this lack of belonging, lack of welcome, and the fact that they felt as though whenever they walked into a hockey space, there was no one there to like make them feel supported, make them feel as though they belonged. It was actually as we were in the room there and we were looking at that 6%, saying, oh God, only 6% of coaches are female, that we started exploring the 94% on the other side. We had gone in there sort of thinking about how we needed to create allies, what we needed to do to address that 94% and train them up on how to be allies, how to make the hockey ecosystem welcoming for females and non-binary individuals. And the aha moment, which when you say it, it seems pretty obvious, but the aha moment was that we didn't have to tackle this from a coaching and training perspective. Within that 94%, there are already strong allies. The 94% isn't all completely unwelcoming. There are people within there. There are men within there. There are coaches who have acted in that role before, who have been allies and beyond being allies, acted as sponsors for females and non-binary individuals trying to find their place in leadership and in coaching. So the aha moment for us was, instead of trying to build this sort of training program, how do we go about finding the 1 in 17? So the 1 out of every 17 male coaches who will act as that sponsor. And I think as soon as we had that moment, everything kind of flipped in the way that we progressed forward. It was actually a very beautiful moment that was driven by one of the members of the cohort, who is a really strong and incredible male ally across the hockey ecosystem.
I mean, change comes from within, typically, and that's what I like about this, is you're not just writing off the existing community. To bring it to our world, we had a sales meeting in our office 2 weeks ago, and I said to some of our younger, newer folks, the best way to drum up new business is to talk to the people you've already worked with. Your inactive clients in our world are often your greatest source of future revenue. But if we flip it back to your world, clearly you discovered that the existing, there's not just a bunch of bad eggs, but you've probably got the resources from within already. It's just accessing or identifying, accessing and utilizing. So can you talk a little bit more to that? I mean, how do you plan to engage with the existing hockey community moving forward, and what part do those play who've never been a part of it? At some point, those groups probably do have to come together.
Our role is about bringing community together. So we don't come up with the ideas. We bring diverse community groups to come together. And like I said, they can be from grassroots, they can be in hockey, outside of hockey, they can be designers. If you saw our group, you would be blown away. You'd walk in and be like, this isn't a hockey meeting. This isn't a hockey lab. What's going on here? And it's been amazing. And I think this approach has not been tried before. So we're really seeing some great success. And I think it's just that approach. I think what Cailin said, it's really sort of flipping how we think about it, to think about it differently.
So I just want to go back to, I guess, the Power Play initiative. And you said, you had people come in and give their thoughts on the whole, on the initiative itself and gave their opinions. I guess I want, as a coach, I just want to know what some of the coaches said. What were some of their opinions? Were there any new ideas that came out that a ha-ha moment where you didn't realize, oh, that's a good one? Just, that's the beauty of having so many different coaches from so many different walks of life. But yeah, I'm just curious to hear what some of them said and what some of their ideas were and their thoughts on it was.
Yeah, I think what really resonated with the coaches was the fact that we shouldn't put the issue on the 6%. So it shouldn't be all on the shoulders of the existing coaches, the existing female coaches out there. So I think that really, it's kind of like the 94, the 6%. Mm-hmm. We did a lot of math over the weekend, but that resonated. And I think mechanisms to feel like individuals belong, and that's sponsorship versus mentorship. And I know that's used really commonly in the corporate sector. But really that sponsorship piece is huge. And there was a story one of the coaches said, and this amazing female coach, she's been coaching a few years and grew up playing hockey, high-level hockey, credentials like you would not believe, super confident in X's and O's and gameplay and what have you, and head coach. And she had 2 male assistant coaches. And she said every single game, the officials would go straight to the assistant coaches. Every single time there was a player that wanted to talk to a coach, would go to the assistant coaches. And the assistant coaches, say for the officials example, would just talk to the official and were kind and what have you. But what a true ally would do would be like, no, I'm not the head coach. Mm-hmm. That's our head coach. And so, and there was no ill will. There was no, the assistant coach was really just talking to the official. But it's those little things that matter. And those little things that maybe happen when that female coach isn't in the room or on the bench. Really sort of advocating and championing and putting that female coach in new and great opportunities to really excel.
I think that's a really big one. I think who's going to advocate and who's going to champion when no one's watching, when say the female head coach, like you said, isn't around, and it's just the assistant and the players. When the players start asking questions to the assistants that are meant for the head coach, is that assistant going to be exactly what you're saying? No, that question is not for me, or that's not my decision, or we're not running that play. That's her call. So I think that's extremely important. So I think the more support given on all aspects and all coaching staff is just going to make this really make change happen, and hopefully happen quickly for the game of hockey. I see the game of hockey changing every day, and sometimes for the better, and sometimes it's kind of going like this, and we have some dips here and there in different areas, and but I think we're coming out of it and getting into a really good place, and only kind of going up from here. So, and speaking of that and kind of going up from here, you just had the power play initiative. What's next on the docket? Is there more to this? Do you have more of similar sessions you had this past week, or is there more initiatives coming up here soon? Just kind of like what's next?
This kind of, I think, goes back to one of the questions you asked earlier in terms of community partners and how would we involve the community. If there's one thing that we saw in working with the people in the community of Halifax is that they want to be a part of this. They want to be a part. They want to support. They want to see this change. And I think that they're excited by the process of the lab, which is looking for these solutions and building them in at the community level. So ground up as opposed to top down. So that being said, now that we have done our first round of testing for minimal viable products, we're going to go look for these community partners. So who are the groups out there that want to partner to test, that want to partner to trial, that want to partner to iterate and refine and make sure that what it is we're putting out is something that is suited for the community and suited for the users that we're looking for. I think that's for us where we're going with these before we move them through to higher fidelity and into piloting.
It's terrific. And then so Amy, for the Future Hockey Lab in general, what's up?
And please promote yourself too. This
Plug,
is your
plug,
opportunity to plug. Our production team have just given us the 2 minute
Okay.
time warning, which means you have 120 seconds to just let it rip. There is no such thing here as bad promotion. Just go for it. Tell us what's next and where people can find you.
Well, I would say the work speaks for itself. We're already starting to test and scale a pretty significant innovation that came out of our first cohort. It's called Open Ice. It's all around making ice utilization transparent across Canada. So we're currently scaling it across Nova Scotia because right now ice is not accessible, and it's never been done where you can pull all the data from every single rink to make it into a dashboard, to make it open and transparent. So equity is the long game, but you can't manage what you can't measure. So we're going to have some significant data and insights to really maximize and optimize ice utilization. So we're going to unlock Canada's ice, if you will.
That's a tagline right there.
I like that.
Unlocking Canada's ice.
And then I guess just lastly is we are really about reimagining hockey. I posted recently a podcast that I just can't get out of my head, but it's all about the future. And if you think about the future differently, you'll act different in the present. So I think we need to really imagine what the future of hockey can look like, because it will really impact how we're acting today. I think if we have this amazing picture about women and girls, and that 6% is not 6%, that's 51%. I think the 18%, I think thanks to the PWHL, we're going to see a huge growth in the female game. So I'm just really excited about the future, and really excited about the lab, and really the ideas that are coming from community are going to be amazing.
Well, we want you back for a third interview. Will you pre-commit to that at least? Look,
Absolutely.
We think the work you're doing is
absolutely.
wonderful. We're excited to see what comes next. And Cailin and Amy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you once again for tuning in to the Matter of Fax podcast.
But you can get more of us. You can subscribe on any good podcast provider. You can follow us on Instagram at Matter of Fax Podcast. And for all that great feedback and abuse, you can send it by email to halifaxpodcast@gmail.com.
And of course, you can always find James Collins and I on the internet.
Please do get in touch, and we look forward to seeing you next time.